Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on our new platform as a service offering. Thanks for joining. I recognize some of the names in the attendee list. I'd also like to thank and welcome Ruslan from Jelastic. He's the CEO and founder of Jelastic. They're the technology partner we've been working with to bring this offering together. So Ruslan will also be going into more detail in a moment.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. So just initially, I realize some of you, as I say, I recognize as existing customers, but I will just give a quick brief introduction to CloudSigma for anyone who's new that's joining. We're a Swiss company. We were founded back in 2009. By myself and Patrick, who's also on the webinar today. And really, we wanted to create a cloud that was very flexible and that essentially offered a customer-defined environment. And that was really our aim. And to also have one that can be very compatible with people's computing. So we tried to avoid vendor lock-in and give customers a very high level of support and performance as well. So in order to achieve that, we actually built our own cloud offering. So we're not based around any standard cloud like OpenStack or something like this, but at the same time, we focus on making sure that the computing layer and the services exposed to customers are non-proprietary so that you're not locked in when you're using us. And in fact, you have a lot more flexibility. And the other thing is you can see there are a network of global locations, which is growing all the time. We also have a kind of local approach. So every cloud that we have doesn't have any dependencies outside of that local location. So for example, if you were using us in Zurich, all the data, all your data, all the systems are in Switzerland in that data center in Zurich. And you can be sure that your data is therefore subject only to Swiss jurisdiction. And there's no other jurisdictions worldwide that can ever request access to your data. The same if you're in Germany, you're only subject to German jurisdiction, etc. So it's basically a local cloud that we're offering you, making data compliance and all those kind of issues that can become very complicated in the cloud much more simple when you're dealing with a CloudSigma powered cloud. And I say powered because we also have partners in many parts of the world. So many of those locations are actually with partners, local service providers, who provide the additional local support beyond CloudSigma's technology. So as I mentioned, we have this global location. We have very much a focus on support. And I would highly encourage everybody that hasn't already to try our support team. It's in the web app, the live chat button, and you can click and you'll see how quick the response is. It's actually, I monitor this with our head of support, and the average response time on the live chat is less than 15 seconds. And that's something that we're very proud of and we actually monitor. So really we want you to feel like there's always somebody available if you're using our cloud and you have a question to be able to make a rapid response, because we know that timely responses from people that are technically qualified can make a huge difference when you're using the cloud. And also, of course, we have the various key ISO certifications, and that also covers the platform as a service that we're going to talk about today. So those compliances come with all of our services globally. So I just wanted to talk really about how, before I hand over to Ruslan and he can show you the product and the technology in more detail, I just wanted to give you kind of my thoughts on platform as a service and how I think it can be really useful for a lot of our customers and why we've been focusing on adding this over the last year or so. So it's kind of really an extension of infrastructure as a service, in that the concept and what it can do, at least one aspect of it, is really allow you to continue to move up the value chain in terms of your IT infrastructure and management. So, when you're talking about IT systems, of course, you have the hardware costs or the virtual hardware costs, but then you also have all the labor costs around management, configuration, continuing to patch, and all these other system requirements that anybody that's ever run an IT system realize is quite extensive. And those labor costs, of course, contribute to your overall cost of delivery. So what PaaS is doing, at least one aspect of what PaaS is doing, it's allowing you to shed those kind of server level tasks, because you're actually going to gain many quite sophisticated functionalities, as we'll see, out of the box. So I'm talking about things like clustering, auto scaling, very responsive services can be built with simply a few clicks. And so that's saving you a lot of time, so you can then focus on other things that maybe are more specific to your requirements. That's going to basically, essentially, you're going to get more done with less effort. So PaaS is great to deploy in areas where you really don't need to be going into the nth detail of some particular service. And it can just basically help you just get that service up and running, make it more responsive than if you were having to do everything yourself. And the other thing is the billing, which we'll also hear more about, is extremely responsive, because this is a containerized system. And so it's really tracking your load curve very closely. And the unit of measurement is very small. So it's a very small building block that the billing is tracking against. So as the system or the service you've built scales up and down, the billing is really recording those very small increases and decreases in load. So actually, rather than a virtual machine, which is essentially a fixed size, and then load within that virtual machine doesn't really have a relevance for billing at the IaaS layer, on the PaaS, you can very closely track that load curve. So you can also be very efficient, especially if you have a variable workload with the PaaS layer. And really, the other thing I wanted to stress about PaaS is that it's often associated with a lot of vendor lock-in. And so we really were looking around for a long time. How can we offer the benefits of PaaS, which I just talked about, but at the same time, not have this kind of really heavy vendor lock-in, kind of, I call it like concrete boots, basically, that are often associated with the use of PaaS on other platforms. So, if you're using, name your large cloud provider, their, say, SQL service, their database as a service, it typically is proprietary. It's very specific to that cloud. And if you then want to move that service to another cloud, you can't, and it involves a lot of expense. So on the one hand, you're gaining from the PaaS, but on the other hand, if you ever need to move, you kind of have this very heavy cost associated with that. So one of the great things about the solution that we've got and we've integrated into CloudSigma is that actually I kind of think of it as like it's a build your own PaaS, because what you're doing is you're able to go in, as you'll see, define the tools that you want, which are standard open source tools for doing everything from load balancing, databases, application servers, different frameworks. All of them are standard. They're not proprietary. So they're completely portable. So I give you an example. If you wanted to have a NoSQL, a scalable NoSQL, like a database as a service as NoSQL, you could go in and you could configure MongoDB to be auto-scaling, and you essentially have built yourself your own NoSQL service using MongoDB. Now, there's nothing proprietary about that database in the end. So you can take that data and move it onto any other MongoDB deployment worldwide. And this is really the benefit. So we're keeping to our core values, but at the same time, we're offering you the benefits of PaaS. And this is why we're really excited about what we're doing. And we think it's a really interesting extension to the services that we've been offering today. So that's enough about me. Just finally, we have also done a lot of work to integrate this into the other aspects of the service. So you can see there the PaaS. We also obviously have the IaaS, which is down here on the bottom half. We've also got networking as a service product. So we're also able, if you're a larger customer, if you want to do something around private networking exposure, we're able to do that and support that for you as well. Likewise, it integrates to the other services that we offer. So it has unified billing, single sign-on, etc. So the product is fully baked into the service offering, and is also covered by the same unified support that we offer. So with that, hopefully I gave you some piqued your interest in what you're about to see. And I'd like to hand over to Ruslan to give us some more information and share his deep knowledge of the platform.
Robert, thank you very much for introduction and for warm words about Jelastic and platform as a service in general. I would like to provide my feedback why we like to work with CloudSigma. So in general, our models are very similar in terms of how we work with customers and how we build the product and how we handle support requests. So Jelastic is a software company. We work with independent independent service providers, cloud service providers around the world. So we collaborate with them almost in the same way as CloudSigma does. So it fits very well to our model, right? And we also appreciate high quality of support for end customers, because it's actually number one for success. You know, like if you offer a nice product but you cannot deliver the good services to your customers, people can buy, but they will buy only once, you know, and they will never come back to you if they face bad support. So that's why we like to work with CloudSigma, and why we fit to each other pretty well. And we work on top of any infrastructure in CloudSigma. For us, it's a great, let's say, base layer, because we can scale quickly across many locations. We started with 2 locations at the beginning. I will describe in details, but in general, it's very good for us platform to scale horizontally across multiple locations. So, and I will jump to my presentation. So quickly about problems we solve. So why we started Jelastic? Like what was the problem? First of all, we started to build solution for ourselves. I was a developer, like normal developer, like many years ago, let's say like 12 years ago. And at that time, we did not have so much cloud offerings. So Amazon just started and Google introduced some nice tools as well, but it was not what I was looking for due to complexity. And we started to build solution for ourselves. And after we built the initial prototype, we got very good traction. And we realized, okay, there is a power and there is a solution that can be interested for many others. And the goal was to, again, like to simplify infrastructure management and to reduce the developers' involvement into this complexity, right? Like to build highly available clusters, to deploy from development to production, and to build this horizontal scaling, and even to enable vertical scaling, because all this knowledge is from sysadmin level, like it's from DevOps area, as people call it today. But actually developers, not many developers like this kind of job, because they like their code and they want to focus on this code. So in some way, we started to move into this direction and help developers to fix this problem, help them to focus on their code instead of infrastructure management. And in addition, we realized there is another problem, that people often, or companies often, overpay for resources they don't use, because it's very hard to predict in advance how much resources you need for your application, right? And usually people buy more just in case to be secure if load comes suddenly. So, and we solved this problem as well. I will talk about this very unique solution, and our customers love what we offer to solving this problem. And as we know, again, like if developers spend time on fighting infrastructure, we lose a lot of energy, we lose a lot of efforts, and competitors, if they are faster, they can win customers and they can beat us at the end, right? So this is why it's important for companies to have some tools that can speed up internal development and DevOps processes. And in general, Jelastic is focusing on multiple levels. First of all, we provide like generic platform as a service for DevOps and development teams, where you can build and deploy your custom topologies and applications and scale them easily. But we also focus on a specific niche, like WordPress as a service and Magento as a service, or database as a service and Kubernetes as a service. So Because again, like our generic platform enables us to deploy any application on top and convert this application into a service. And cooperation with CloudSigma gave us already 2 locations in production, and more locations will come soon. And it's very great because large customers, they like to have access to multiple locations due to different reasons, due to regulations. So data should stay within the country territory, due to latency, or like just people want to have local support, that to talk to people that speak your language, and or even like for high availability across continents. And now our customers, profile of our customers, they're actually different, but majority of our customers, it's a software development companies and companies that offer something as a service, right? We have web development agencies, we have digital services agencies, we also have finance and banking services, e-commerce, retail, system integrators, media, education, IoT and big data as well. In reality, it depends on what our partners, what kind of knowledge our partners can deliver in a specific market. Because, for example, in one country, we have partners that are very good in WordPress. And in another country, for example, we have partners that are very good in e-commerce. And another one, like, for example, in DevOps. So it really depends on your expertise and on the issue which is present in a specific region, because in different countries, technologies are at different level, like some countries behind others, and it really depends. Yeah, but in general, after we analyze it, all these customers across all locations, you can see this picture. So our core functionality, as I mentioned, first of all, generic multi-cloud platform as a service that enables customers to build custom topologies and deploy custom applications. There is also WordPress as a service, prepackaged solution, which is very nice. Nobody on the market offers as powerful solution as Jelastic today. I will show you. And we also offer in Kubernetes as a service and database as a service. So in short, how Jelastic components are built. So we have like several layers. On the bottom layer, we have infrastructure. So, and in our case, this is CloudSigma, and also software-defined components we also take from CloudSigma. And we deploy on top of this our containers, right? We have a containers as a service layer. And then we build on top of this additional automation, which we call platform as a service. So this automation enables extra easiness, let's say, right? Like, so when you don't operate containers, you operate applications. So you don't go deep even with containers, because in reality, even containers are so hot and many customers want them. In reality, the vast majority don't want to go to that level. They want to focus on their applications, on their stacks, and maybe even like don't focus on this, only on their application code. So this is why we have like these 2 levels, like container as a service and platform as a service. And it's very important to mention what kind of containers technology we use, because everyone knows Docker, right? Docker is everywhere. Everyone loves Docker. We love Docker as well. We do support Docker containers. However, in addition to Docker containers, we support system containers. Actually, Docker containers, they are application containers. They're designed for microservice world, like when you deploy only one instance of service or application into container. While system containers, they behave more like virtual machines, but at the same time, they are as slim and as elastic as application containers. So it's something in the middle and between application containers and virtual machines. And we use Virtuoso technology. There is another solution on the market, LXC Linux containers. But we use Virtuoso technology because it's really great, and we have commercial support, and they have very nice extra features like live migration and improved density and so on. Like, so we don't focus on that area. Like, we work with very trusted partner, and we get it ready to go. And it's important to mention again, like, this technology exists for a long time on the market, more than 20 years. It's not something that came recently. It's really a robust and time-proofed technology. So actually, majority of VPS containers, VPS deployments are running on top of Virtuoso on the market, on the global market. So, and now probably I need to go inside the dashboard and show you. And then you see there is a new tab like PaaS, right? And the CloudSigma will do a single sign-on, and you will be redirected to the portal of Platform as a Service. And it consists of 3 major buttons, as you can see, like new environment, import, and marketplace. Yeah, let me move it here. So I have already some environments created here, like Kubernetes and WordPress and some test environment. But in general, when developers come, they press a button, new environment, right? And then they can choose different stacks to create. Jelastic was built to focus on a specific language, let's say. Like, we are not religious about languages, we support all of them. But for different languages, we offer a different set of stacks. The biggest number of stacks is available for Java, because Java is really complicated and it has a lot of options and application servers and even different JDK builds. So you go to Java, for example, right, and you choose what kind of application server you want to deploy. Glassfish, Tomcat, just Java Engine, JT, Payara, Spring Boot, Tommy, Wi-Fi. So as you see, it's pretty long list of ready-to-go applications. The most popular, of course, Tomcat. So let's start with Tomcat. You can choose different versions here, easy, and then you can choose different JVMs, let's say, yeah, open JDKs, because the different companies offer different builds. They work pretty in similar way, but there are some different components inside. I would recommend to go with OpenJDK, for example, for Java lovers. And then you can do like vertical scaling pretty easy. So you drag and drop this slider, and you set like, okay, there is a 10 gigabyte per container, right? And it's a scaling limit. It does not mean that your customers will pay for it if they don't use it. It's a scaling limit. In reality, they will pay what they use. And we will come back to this topic a little bit later. I will explain how it works. But just to want to bring your attention here, that we set a scaling limit. We can also set like reserved resources, which customer will pay always, you know, like for, they will be a little bit provided for some discount because they are fixed. You can predict, and dynamic resources, they are a little bit more expensive comparing to reserved. So, but in general, again, like our customers, they just set scaling limit, and then you can choose horizontal scaling, because this one was vertical. You can choose horizontal scaling. For example, you want to create like 10 containers. Pretty easy, right? Like, so I just press plus, minus, and that's it. Like, I don't do anything. And then I need to choose, or I can choose what kind of scalability to use, stateless or stateful. Maybe too deep, but for people who understand, it's important, because, for example, in stateless mode, let me show you here. Yeah, in stateless mode, we always create new container from template, and it's empty. While in stateful mode, we clone existing master container and we migrate to another node. So, but data is already inside. Whatever you change it on file system, it's already inside. So it's useful for different cases. We provide options, so customers can choose different options. Yeah. Customers can choose different options. So let's create a stateless, for example, right? And then you can enable actually auto clustering. It's very nice technology that was created and invented by Jelastic. So you press this button, and we will enable automatic replication between these Tomcat nodes. So what it means you don't need to go and configure every cluster for replicating your sessions inside. You don't need to adjust this after horizontal scaling. It will be done automatically for you. So it saves a lot of efforts and time, because like to make it happen, your developers need to go deep and first of all analyze how to configure this, and then do maintenance of this while scale this technology out or in. So you can also define delays between restart. For example, when you redeploy your application, you can say like, okay, please make a delay like 40 seconds. So, or when you restart your application servers, like they will be restarted with delay. Or you can set, for example, 0. They will be restarted. Actually, they will be restarted one by one. If you set -1, they will be all restarted in parallel. Also, there are additional interesting buttons like variables. So it's pretty similar to Docker concept, where you define some variables that are available inside your container, right? So you can see there are like some Java home variables and stacks versions and so on, web root folder. You can also add volumes. When you redeploy containers, volumes will stay, right? So they will not disappear. But you can also attach, let's say, remote volume, shared volume. I will show how it works, and so on. And but also after I scale this horizontally, this layer, you can see like we automatically added load balancing layer. So it will be dedicated load balancer for your environment. You can change this load balancer to different stacks, right? By default, we offer Nginx. It's a nice technology, but some people like, for example, Lightspeed or HA proxy. We're not religious again about these components. You can choose whatever you want. For example, it's HA proxy, right? And what you can do, you can also scale it vertically, right? And you can scale it horizontally. So then we go to another layer. There is like the database layer, and we have nice templates for SQL type of databases and NoSQL type of databases. We love MariaDB very much. It's a fork from MySQL, but it's managed by founders and creators of MySQL, let's say. I have a nice story about MariaDB, just maybe for another webinar. Why it was named MariaDB and why it was named MySQL. Actually, it's names of two daughters of the creator. Yeah, and you can scale it vertically as well. You can scale it horizontally as well, but I suggest to pay attention again on auto clustering. When you enable auto clustering for MariaDB, you will see additional button like drop down where you can choose topology, like replication topology, like primary. So when you have like in the past it was called like two masters, but we move away from this master slave naming, you know, like because it's not very convenient for some people. So now it's called like primary, or like primary secondary. In the past it was like master slave, or Galera, where like every node is primary node, so every node can get reads and writes. So I like Galera a lot. That's the way we use it in our solutions. And as I mentioned, it's pretty easy. You just choose buttons and you don't need to go deep and configure this replication. And it's not only about configuring replication, you need to adjust some configs according to your vertical size limit. Yeah, because like if you have like 10 gigabyte per container, but your server is configured to consume like only 2 gigabytes, so the rest memory will not be available for your application server. So There are different kind of work should be done inside your software stack to be adjusted for this container size, let's say. Good. Also, we have similar like for MongoDB, right? For MongoDB, there is like auto clustering. For MongoDB, we will create a replica set. And again, like you can create like maybe 5 nodes, like or 7, whatever, like, and the cluster will be automatically adjusted. We also have like shared storage, as I mentioned. It can be like one container, or it can be clustered container. For clusters, we allow minimum 3 nodes, so you cannot scale down less than 3 nodes, let's say. So you can scale it vertically as well. And then, as I mentioned, you can go here and make like volume, right? And add volume from your data container. So you choose this data container here, for example, like storage container, right? And it uploads some information from the storage container. And you can see, okay, there is a like volume already data. So I will mount this volume. I can mount read-only mode, but I will mount read-write mode. Edit. So now we have this layer. I mean, all these 10 application servers will be connected to this extra storage, and they will have like shared folder across all of them. So pretty easy, pretty useful, and easy to go, or easy to start, let's say. And at the same time, it's very powerful because you can build so complex topologies because real like heavy production applications, they use very different components like for caching, for balancing, for different databases, for different kind of data and so on. But also there is like classical VPS containers. The difference is that they are inside containers. They are not inside virtual machines. So they are more elastic and more cost efficient, let's say. And yeah, like you can choose different operating systems like Debian, Ubuntu, and so on. Or you can choose Docker images. I will show how it works. So, and you can add like some custom stuff here. Good. So same for PHP, right? Like, but you will see different set of stacks. Same for Ruby, .NET, Node.js, Python, Golang. So just for Golang, we have smaller number of stacks, like because there are not so many things for Golang at this moment on the market. So there is also Docker option, and Docker is available in 3 flavors. Custom Docker images, when we use Docker as a template for container image creation, let's say, like, so we use it for continuous integration, continuous delivery. We use this as a format to build our templates. But when we pull from Docker Hub, we deploy inside our system container engine. Why? Because like we make it more, let's say, efficient in this way and more secure in this way, because we know very well our system container engine, Virtuoso. So we just combine the best from the both worlds. The second option, when we deploy for you like traditional Docker engine, this Docker engine will be deployed inside system container, and then you deploy Docker images inside this Docker engine. So it's pretty similar as other public cloud vendors offer today. The difference is we deploy inside system containers instead of virtual machines. So we get a better density at the end and better utilization of the infrastructure. And Kubernetes, when you can deploy like the whole cluster of Kubernetes and then deploy these Docker images inside Kubernetes. So let's start from simple option. Yeah, from this one. And yeah, so I go here. Yeah, I choose this, and then I can select images, right? And I can choose anything. I need to find it in Docker Hub, right? Like I can go with official Nginx. So then I can choose, let's say, tag, because there are many different tags, right? So I can choose a tag, then I can do vertical scaling, I can do horizontal scaling. So pretty similar what I showed before, like in load balancing, you can go and say like light speed if it exists. Yeah, there is a Jelastic light speed, for example, right? Same, like, so pretty easy. So you can build not only based on our standard software stacks, but on your custom Docker images. When you need to use one and when you need to use another one. Look, for standard applications, we manage these stacks, like, right? Like, for example, for this Java, like, we track updates, we test these updates, we make sure that new release is compatible with Jelastic, right? Like, and we optimize configurations for horizontal and vertical scaling. We inject our smart logic inside. So if you use our templates, you will get much more automation. But sometimes people are, are happy enough with their custom builds, or maybe Jelastic does not offer something super custom. You can then you use Docker solutions, like, to build your custom technologies. We have both kind of customers that use traditional, standard software stacks or custom Docker images. So great. That was about environment topology, right? And then we also have here like marketplace, which is pretty powerful set of ready to go solutions. As you can see here, like we have like WordPress cluster. WordPress cluster is very, very complex solution. Even WordPress sounds something easy, but to build a cluster, it's not really easy. And we provide ready to go scaling functionality integrated inside. So you can choose how fast load will be changed. So it's low speed, like medium speed, or like high speed. It means like how fast customers, number of customers will be increased on your website. So it will change behavior of horizontal scaling. There is also ability to install WordPress and run on top of Lightspeed web server, which is super optimized and super good for WordPress, right? There is the option to enable like brute force attack protection, enable web application firewalls. Then you can install WordPress on top of standalone database or on top of MariaDB Galera cluster, sorry. Yeah. And then you can actually install together with Let's Encrypt with auto renewal and install add-on for Lightning Fast Premium CDN, which is based on Verizon Enterprise Network. Actually, it's very powerful because there are so many points of presence around the world, and it's really like enterprise kind of network, which is available for average Jelastic customer. So actually, to get such kind of subscription, you need to pay 1,000 in advance. In Jelastic, it's available pay as you use. So you can also install a Galera cluster, GlusterFS cluster for storage files and install WordPress multi-site network. Great. I have actually already installed this WordPress, and it will look something like this, right? So we have like 2 load balancers, 2 application servers, 3 database nodes, and 3 storage nodes, right? And I can open, and it's like standard hello world, but it's really scalable. Like, so if you put your custom application inside and you put load, you will see how it works. So you can go and improve horizontal scaling, because by default, we provide the scaling based on CPU. You can add additional trigger based on memory, right? So you can say like, okay, let's go to application server and please scale it up at more nodes if load is more than, let's say, like 60%, right? Scale out to 10 nodes and remove nodes if load is less than like 25%, for example, right? So that's pretty easy. Like, so you can adjust all these things. In addition, you can adjust load alerts, because by default for every stack we provide load alerts based on CPU, memory, storage, IO nodes, and network. It's very good because like sometimes load is coming close to the limit, and if you did not configure your automatic horizontal scaling, then you can get this notification and go do manual horizontal scaling. Great. You can also adjust like firewall rules.
Ruslan, can I ask you a question? There was a question in the chat.
Course. Yes, guys. Let's do a little bit interactive, because like I can talk forever. Like, and you know, I doesn't feel. Yeah, please. I doesn't feel the audience, so it's better if we talk to each other.
If you check the chat, I can read it for you anyway. But there's a new Sheena says, do you have plans for offering VTES for scaling MySQL and MariaDB?
VTES for scaling.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like I never heard about this. Like, what is it like? Let me see. It's honestly, I never heard about this. So database clustering. Look, it's Kubernetes based, right? So how we add new stack templates to Jelastic? More customers come to us and request, we need this solution, so we add more votes for a specific template. Because like we cannot honestly offer everything, because it will take a lot of efforts. But if majority of customers are demanding something, then most likely it will be available in Jelastic soon. We have a documentation pretty extensive how to package your own templates and make them standardized for Jelastic platform. So if you need the solution in the nearest future, you will be able to package by yourself and integrate in Jelastic, and then offer it for your customers. So, but thank you for the question. We will take a look about this. I just never heard about this. Probably something new and created for Kubernetes, as I see. Great, guys. Any other questions so far?
Not so far in the chat. That was the main one so far.
Very good. Let's move on. Let me jump back to my screen. Yeah, actually, we have our environment ready to go. You see, like it's created. This like complex environment. You see, like I created many containers in the past, like 2 load balancers, 3 database. For NoSQL, we have a lot of them, like 3, 7, and storage, VPS. There is a proxy SQL actually for Galera. I did nothing but I created, I did nothing complex, but I created really, really complex topology. In reality, to create such topology manually, you need to spend like a week, and you need to learn months, to figure out like how to build it properly. So that's in short. Let's walk through other functionality. I was here, right? I was showing like firewalls. You can adjust some inbound and outbound rules. Yeah, let me move it here. So then endpoints. This environment doesn't have endpoint because it uses public IP address, but for specifically for development environments, you can add endpoint, and traffic will go through, let's say, like 80 port. Traffic will go through like shared load balancers, because like every cluster of Jelastic cluster provides shared load balancers for development environments, for example, right? So you will be able to go and connect to this node like through, I just probably configured the wrong port. Let me see. Yeah, 80 port, private port. It should work. Let me see. Yeah. Probably because it's HTTPS. Okay, I will figure out later what it is. But in general, you get access. I got it why it doesn't work, because the environment has public IP address. Yeah. So if public IP address is enabled, you cannot get shared point. Shared point will not work for you. And actually, it's written when you create environment. It's here, access through shared load balancer, right? So if you enable this, it's automatically disabled. So you can. It means again, like when, because like IP addresses. There are not so many IP addresses now, IPv4, for example, and people don't want to pay extra money like for development environments. So for dev test environments, using this endpoints is pretty useful. Great.
One thing that would be quite good to see is the triggers, like how you define the scaling points. I don't know whether I don't think you showed that yet, right? Yeah, that's because I think that's really powerful as well.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the reasons why people love Jelastic, because you can configure scaling. Scaling can be done manually or automatically. For example, let's go here and scale our node. Yeah, let's go here. So I go to topology wizard, right? And I want to, for example, to add one more Lightspeed load balancer. So first of all, I want to increase the size of each of them, and I want to add one more. So this I call manual scaling. So I apply, and in a minute we will get one more node, one more container. It will be automatically configured into the topology. So this container will automatically distribute traffic for these two nodes. And again, like you don't need to do it manually anymore. The system will automatically interconnect load balancing. So, but also there is an option to create automatic horizontal scaling. You add a button. There are different triggers based on CPU, memory, network, and disk. And as I mentioned, you can say, for example, please scale it out. But let's scale application servers here. Please. One moment. So I go to application servers. It doesn't give me memory because memory I already have, right? So I cannot configure two because it will be conflict. So I can edit existing based on memory, right? And what I say like scaling limit for scaling out. I mean like adding more nodes, and limit for scaling in when you remove the nodes, right? It's a visual, so you see you can see the load for like last 20 hours or one day. Maybe if your load is variable, you can figure out, okay, like maybe I need to scale down when load is about 20% and scale up when load is about 60%, something like this. Like it really depends on your specific application and load that is coming to application. But at the end, it's pretty easy. Like, so you just drag and drop and apply, and that's it. And when scaling happens, you will get notification to your email system. So any questions about vertical or horizontal scaling, guys, at this point? Great. If there are no questions, then I will move on and talk about SSH access. There is an option to get inside container, and it's pretty easy. So you just choose specific node you want, right? And press this node, and we provide you web SSH gate. That's it. Easy, right? And I can switch to another node. And again, like I'm in another node. Yeah. So the same is available actually from floating menu. You can see like floating menu, right? You can go here and jump into load balancing. Yeah. Great. Also, what we have here, like custom domains, where you can be into custom domains, and then you can actually swap with another environment. For example, you created a new environment and you want to you want to change traffic, like move traffic from the old environment to a new one. So again, like I will do just a test, right? And then you choose like another environment like this one and press a button swap, like done. Like, so that domain now is bound to test environment, test PHP environment, for example. So we have pretty extensive documentation about this, how it works. I'm afraid I will not be able to cover everything, just, like basic important things. And then what I want to show you also the advantage of pay-per-use model here. For example, we have this master nodes or like working nodes. Yeah. And we go to statistic, right? And we see in total, 2 nodes have a limit of 8 GB, but in reality, they use only 2 GB. At any other provider, customers will pay for 8 GB of RAM. With Jelastic, they will pay only for 2 GB of RAM. And in reality, 4 GB of RAM per each worker node of Kubernetes, it's not too much. It's very little. Usually, people set something like, like 16 GB. Let's do it. Yeah, 16 GB. Yeah. So, and in a minute we will see some updates related to this. And at the end, you will still have this limit, 16 GB, but in reality, customers will pay only for 2 GB. And we call this pay per actual use. And here I will jump to slides to show you the logic behind, right? The logic behind. For example, in virtual machines, when you set the scaling limit, majority of applications do not consume everything. They consume like 30%, 50, in the good cases 70, like in the best, like 80, like 90 maximum. Because like if it consumes everything, it's really hard to predict in advance like how much resources will be consumed by your application. And but again, like if application does not consume everything, all these resources will be wasted for customer. Some vendors even oversell these resources. It's really hard to manage sharing of these resources in a smart way between virtual machines. There is a technology which is called ballooning, but as far as I know, it's not fully automated and it has troubles. So non-cloud vendors offer this smart sharing of resources across other let's say customers on the node, on the host node. While with containers it's different. Containers by default, they share unused resources with other containers that are located on the same node. It's just default feature of containers. And it's useful because what you can do the following. Like with virtual machines, vendors, VM-based vendors, they offer model which is called like pay as you go. It means like when virtual machine is up and running, you pay, but you always pay for the limit of this virtual machine, regardless of the actual consumption. Jelastic invented another model which is called like pay for actual use, or simply like pay per use. It's different because you can set this the same scaling limit, but if customer does not consume these resources, customer just pay for what they use. And we believe it's a really fair model for customers. As soon as customers realize how it works, they they become very stick to Jelastic, and it's not lock-in because technology. It's lock-in because like nobody else on the market offer such sophisticated and modern pricing model. And why it's good again for customers? Because in the container world, you do not create any more like one container like for everything. Like in the past, like one virtual machine for deploying like my database, application server, and load balancing. You create multiple containers per each layer, like for 3 database containers, like 5 application server containers, and so on. Now imagine In real production, in real company, you manage like multiple websites, like, and you have like production, development, staging, like you have hundreds of containers, maybe thousands of containers. And imagine you need to go in advance to check how much resources per each you need to allocate. And most likely your guess will be wrong because the load is variable. So the load can be changed during the time. It can go up and down. So people just set high limits to be secure. And with virtual machines, these resources are wasted because they're not consumed always, but the customers still have to pay for this. With Jelastic, it's not like this. It's different. So we call it we solve right sizing problem. There is no problem anymore like right sizing. You don't need to guess in advance how much. Just set high limits and that's it, and pay for what you use. And I would love to pay attention a little bit on this because what we see is that large cloud vendors like Amazon and Google, they introduce the same model after Jelastic. They call like pay per use, but they confuse the market, and I've explained you why. And it's very important for you to understand and explain and customer what is the difference between your pay per use and Google or Amazon pay per use. So, and the difference is the following: like if you go to Linux machine, right? Like, and you print like free -m, you will see memory total limit and memory real used. Pay attention. There is a specific name like used memory. So we track this usage. When I show like pay per use, it means like pay for this specific used memory. You see, like used memory, not the total limit, not allocated memory, used. Now, if we go to macOS, macOS has same terminology. They have like memory used, right? And they have physical memory. And if we go to Windows, same, like they have like total and in use. So every operating system has like this use definition, which reflects actual use. Now, if we go to Amazon, right, and we go there and read the documentation, they say very interesting marketing here, like pay for the amount of CPU and memory resources that your container application requests, like, you know, it's not clear, like, what does it mean, request, like, you know. And then they also say, like, you only pay for what you use as you use it, like, it sounds like interesting, like, so is it the same pay per use? But in reality, when you go to like dashboard inside, not on the landing page, it clearly states now, like, you bill it for the task, memory, and CPU allocated. It means like for the limit. So they confuse some customers. They say like pay per use, but in reality they charge like for the limit. And same with Google, by the way. So they say Cloud Run charges you only for resources you use, but at billing page, they say like you are billed only for CPU and memory allocated. And inside dashboard, they say also like memory to allocate to each container instance. So that's a pretty big difference.
So one of the things you could say for a customer is that there isn't a penalty to creating a higher limit. So you can basically survive a much bigger load spike, for example, and keep operating. And you can have that in place, even though 99% of the time you're not going to need it. And there's no downside, there's no cost to doing that, right?
Correct.
Because you're not using it. So even though you have the ability to scale up to that level, and obviously you can control that, so you're not going to go crazy, but at the same time, you can create a relatively high limit just in case without actually having any cost associated with it. And it's only charged for when you're actually actively using it, when the application's actively using it.
Thank you, Robert. It's very important. Now you see, like, I increased vertical scaling limit, right? And my 2 working nodes have like 32 gigabyte, but real consumption is 2 gigabyte. So what it means, as a customer, I am secure because if load is coming suddenly, let's say, right? I have limits to scale up to 32 gigabyte of RAM. But at the same time, I don't pay for this insurance. I don't need to pay in advance, like for this 32 gigabyte of RAM. None of big cloud vendors offer same model. None. It means like you have very big advantage. Cloud, I mean, like these big players, they introduce pay-per-use like for serverless model, like for containers-based models. But again, like they trick customers. In reality, they still charge for the limits, not for the real consumption. So you can use this as a power. So pay-per-use doesn't equal pay-as-you-go. It doesn't equal pay-as-you-allocate or pay-as-you-reserve. So it's very, very important difference, because again, like as soon as customers realize how it works, they fell in love with Jelastic, and it's really hard to migrate to anything else after. And we did a statistic across multiple our partners around the world, many data centers, and green is used and red is limit. You can see like people set much higher limit than they consume. Maybe in the old model you would resell it, right? Like you make more money, but come on guys, we are living in a modern world. This like overselling is not fair, like, and in reality, like it will be changed, like, so we should be ahead of time, like, so we should start offering this, like, and it's a modern, like, I would say version 2 cloud native pricing. Great, like any questions regarding this now? No questions. Okay. By the way, like I scale it horizontally, my WordPress cluster, you see now I have like a third load balancer, and it's connected to WordPress as well.
I can make a comment on the billing as we're here. Yeah. So one of the things we have here is we have a unified billing as well. So whatever's happening in the PaaS environment, there's a single balance, your CloudSigma balance, and you're consuming against that. And that could be for some customers a credit limit as well. So basically it just fits within the regular billing of CloudSigma. There's no more complication. So the PaaS environment obviously is billing in its own way, which we just described, but essentially that all resolves down to the same balance or credit limit that you have with CloudSigma. And then on your CloudSigma bill, the overall one, you'll see sort of PaaS consumption just as a summary, and then you can go into the PaaS layer to actually see the details of exactly how that's being spent, as Ruslan was just showing you. So you basically don't need to do anything more when you start using the PaaS platform. It will just bill you as you normally are billed from the platform.
Great, guys. So let's jump to a third button, which is called like import. This is for more advanced customers that are looking for advanced automation. They can import some logic, which is called Jelastic Packaging Standard. We have pretty extensive list of solutions. So you just print Jelastic GPS, you will go to GitHub, Jelastic GPS collection, right? And there are many different examples how it works. For example, WordPress cluster, right? So what you do, you just copy, sorry, you copy link here, right? And you will get this wizard. So this automation enables customers to create like visual components. So you can put different buttons here, different checkbox, titles, whatever, right? It can be pretty complex. And it automates provisioning and interconnection of components like containers, IP addresses, like and any kind of resources. So yeah, you can see here, and you can also, let's say, like copy this, and yeah, Zoom is open. Yeah. So and import here. Yeah. So yeah, you can write something additional here, like I don't know, like let's say test, right? And yeah, import, and you will get again like the same, right? Like because I just copied the same template. So you can create own templates based on our templates. You can clone it, adjust, or you can create completely new logic. Like for example, for this application, like Vitess, like right, we have documentation which is called cloud scripting. We call this technology actually cloud scripting, and you can read how it works. There are many actions. There are so many events list. It means like you can attach specific action to a specific event. All right, and yeah, we have here some information. Right, for example, automation of scaling with cloud scripting. There are different events like start scaling, remove node, clone node, add node, link nodes, unlink, restart container, start service, and scaling, and so on. You can create your custom logic. For example, like before scaling, you need to do something like, or after scaling, you need to go to a specific container and reconfigure that container to tell other containers that there is a new container and this container has some kind of parameters and it has new IP address and so on. Like so, it enables you to build pretty complex provisioning logic, as well as continuous integrations and continuous delivery automation. So we use it a lot, actually. All these clusters are based on top of cloud scripting technology. Great. As I mentioned, we have pretty large list of applications inside Marketplace. I showed only, let's say, Kubernetes, WordPress, but there is a Magento, Postgres. Another one like traffic distributor, I like it, actually, because what you can do, so you drag and drop, you choose two environments, for example, production and development, right? So it cannot be the same. Another one. So, and they say like, okay, I have two load balancers and I want to make like failover. So when this fails, all traffic will go to another one. Or I want to make like round robin. And then like I, for example, put 10% of load only to this, because it can be useful for A/B testing. You just created new environment and you want to see like how it behaves under the load. So you just put, let's say like 10% of the load and see like how it goes. Okay, like everything is fine, like you can increase the load, right? And then you can put like 100% and then remove the old environment. So pretty useful one. There is a automation for GitLab, DevOps lab, we call it. We create a cluster of GitLab with SSL, with worker nodes, and you can integrate this directly with Kubernetes, and you can use for really advanced pipelines. Let's say continuous integration, continuous delivery pipelines. There is also Jenkins, I believe, somewhere, yeah, for continuous integration, continuous delivery. Yeah, Jenkins. Let me see. Yeah, the workspec. Jenkins is very popular solution for specifically in Java world, but not only, for triggering some actions when you deploy new applications. So again, like it's configured by different categories like dev and admins, clusters, microservices, content management, collaboration, e-commerce, storage file system, project management, and add-ons. There are like additional add-ons. If you create your own stuff, you can integrate through admin panel, and your end customers will be able to see your custom logic. So many our providers, after they use Jelastic for some time, they try to bring something extra to their customers, and they create their own logic, which is pretty helpful for the whole ecosystem. Great, guys. So what else I can talk about? Yeah, for example, for WordPress, this logic is really advanced. Like, right, like we have like premium CDN, we go to Verizon, we call APIs, we get tokens, we integrate these tokens, then we go to Let's Encrypt, we issue certificates, then we enable web application firewalls, configure light speed, then load balancing, then configure light speed web servers together with Redis cache. Then we configure clusters of for file storage and for database, and everything is interconnected. And the latest interesting functionality which is coming. It's a multi-region distributed availability for WordPress. So it means like we can deploy WordPress across 2, 3, or more regions in a click, and we will create like clusters in each region and interconnect this with each other. It's useful for large-scale projects, again, like for large-scale projects. But it's not only for large-scale projects. I mean, like small guys can find Jelastic useful for themselves because, for example, we have this WordPress, Elastic WordPress in standalone container when we deploy everything inside one container. Remember, we were talking the Docker containers, they were designed for like one service per one container. And virtual machine, you can deploy anything inside, like many things inside. And system containers, they are in between. The Elastic as a Docker container, but they behave the same way as a virtual machine. So you can deploy multiple stacks inside one container, and you can scale it at least vertically, right? So with this pay-per-use model, so you set like high scaling limits, and you pay only for what you use. Like it's very useful for small guys as well. So we have nice reviews by independent companies, independent parties of our WordPress solution. So we got to the top tier enterprise status with review signal. And another guy like VP Johnny, which is very famous in WordPress community, reviewed our platform with and gave positive feedback. So as I mentioned, there are many packages for offering database as a service, like Postgres, Maria, MySQL, also MongoDB. We also had probably CouchDB as well. Kubernetes, pretty advanced. Kubernetes is very advanced here, very advanced because it also offers, let's say, additional add-ons for GitLab integration, for example, right? For cluster upgrade. So when a new version comes, I don't need to worry like how to upgrade my cluster. I just press a button, and Jelastic will go through all the steps, like and create a new node, relocate containers, shut down previous one, restart this old node, then migrate containers back. Like so, it will take some time, but it's automated task. So you can install Rancher, for example, here as well. You can configure start-stop scheduling. For example, shut down your environment when you go home and wake up when you go to work in the morning. So it helps you to save extra. There is an example, right? Like, so if you stop your environment during non-working hours, you will save a lot. Yeah, and many customers actually use this add-on for extra efficiency, let's say. Great, guys. So I can talk forever, like, so please ask me something, like, because it's
I think we have like just over 5 minutes left anyway, so
okay.
Probably a good time to conclude. And let me share my screen, because obviously let me just, I should be able to see you. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, so thanks, Ruslan, for that. That was a great walkthrough of the web app, and I think it's clear to everybody just the rich functionality that's there. So that's part of the reason why we're so excited to have this functionality for our customers. It's the more you start to use the interface and the functionality, the more you discover and the kind of more use cases you find for yourself within that, and that's great. And that's why I would encourage everybody just to have a go. Even if you're not sure, how would I use this? Just try some things in the web app. You have a free trial anyway, and then with that familiarity and in using it, I think you'll find some areas where it makes sense to use that rather than having like a VM approach or something like that, and combining. I know, for example, we have a lot of customers that want to use containers, for example, and so obviously you went over the surface of a lot of things there. and that's great. But we also have, just to highlight for the attendees, we have a series of webinars coming up, and the idea is they're more like technical deep dives into some of the key areas of the platform. And so that will be again with an engineer from Jelastic that actually is able to deploy in detail these different areas. So just to highlight for you guys, Patrick's going to post the links into the chat right now, so you can have them available. But basically we have 3 webinars coming up. We've got one on the 1st of July, which is containers as a service. So that's going to go into the things that just actually Ruslan was showing about Docker, about Kubernetes, the extensions and all the different functionality there. And what I would say is, if you're intending to attend that container workshop or webinar, but let's kind of, hopefully it's more like a workshop, please contact us, and anything that you're interested in knowing more about, and even you can go and use the platform before the webinar. And if there's something that you're not sure about, join us on the webinar, and then we can answer those questions live for you as well. So it'll be sort of something like a masterclass in containers as a service. And that's on the 1st of July. And so that, I think that'll be super useful, because I know we have so many customers asking about that. Then on the 8th of July, basically this is every week at the same time on a Thursday, if you didn't realize already. So on July the 8th, which is in 2 weeks time, we have microservices for a DevOps environment, which is basically that configuration tool that you saw, that is sort of the glue that allows you to create these sophisticated environments. And again, we'll go into typical use cases for that and all the configuration details. And again, if you have a particular like service that you're interested in deploying, or you know, a setup that you're interested in, please join the webinar or let us know in advance as well of that use case, and we will make sure that we cover that use case in the webinar. So you have a couple of weeks to go and have a go with the platform. But please do let us know if there are specific tools that you want to see covered, and we'll make sure we cover that in detail so we can really help you get going with that. And then finally, we have the kind of one-click solutions, what we saw there from the marketplace, which is the, you know, everything from OwnCloud to the traffic balancer and all those kind of solutions that are there. And we'll cover that in the final webinar, which is on the 15th of July at the same time on a Thursday. And in that one, again, we'll go through some use cases. So if you have a look in the marketplace, if there is some solution that you're particularly interested in, please let us know either during the webinar or ideally before, and we'll also make sure we cover that particular tool for you so we can make it really interactive. So that's pretty much a wrap for today. Thanks once again, Ruslan, for your support and for bringing us through the web app. Thanks to everyone for attending and the other panelists. I think it was really useful, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing customers starting to use this and getting the feedback.
Thank you, Robert, for inviting to this webinar, and for the cooperation in general. Like, I'm very excited as well about the opportunity, and I invite everyone to try by yourself, learn. If any question happen, we're here. We are your partner. We are your friends. We are your colleagues. So let's collaborate and let's conquer the world together and make more customers happier.
Right. And just to let everyone know, I've just put up a poll at the end, just to get some feedback in terms of the different use cases and the level of interest with the people that have attended. So if you get 5 seconds to fill that in before you go, the poll that as an attendee, that would also be really useful for us. So thanks once again, and I'll leave the webinar up just on the final slide to give people time to fill in the poll. And thank you for joining. And thanks again, Ruslan. Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Bye-bye.